It was a quiet night. The sky was clear, and the stars were shining like tiny diamonds. Daniel was driving home from work. The road was empty, no other cars, no sounds except the wind. He liked this road. It was peaceful. But that night something felt different. As he turned a corner, he saw two women standing in the middle of the road. They wore long silver robes, and their skin looked smooth, almost glowing under the moonlight. Their eyes were bright, but not like normal eyes. They looked like glass, shining with soft blue light. Daniel stopped the car and got out. He looked around. There was no sign of danger, no car crash, no reason for them to be here. One of the women smiled and took a step forward. Her voice was soft but clear. "We have been waiting for you." Daniel, he froze. "How do you know my name?" he asked. The second woman moved beside the first. "Because you are special," she said. "We come from far away, from a place beyond. You're stars. We want to show you something." Daniel laughed nervously. "Is this a joke? Who are you really? Where are you from?" The first woman raised her hand and pointed to the sky. At that moment, a strange sound filled the air. It was like a deep hum, not loud but strong enough to feel in the chest. Then, above the trees, something appeared. A ship, floating without wings or lights. It was shaped like a diamond, spinning slowly in the air. The surface was smooth and dark, but stars reflected off it like mirrors. Daniel stepped back. "What is that?" "Our ship," the woman said. "We want you to see it, just for a little time. We have questions, and we think you have answers." His heart was racing. Part of him wanted to run. But another part, a deeper part, felt calm. The way they spoke, the way they looked at him, made it hard to say no. "Is it safe?" he asked. The second woman nodded. "Completely. You are not in danger. We just want to talk." Daniel looked at the ship again, then at the women. Something inside him said this was not right. But something else, something stronger, pulled him forward. He took a step, then another. The women turned and walked toward the trees. Behind them, a path opened, like the forest was moving aside. He followed them. The ship was closer now. It was silent, no engines, no doors, just floating in the air like it was part of the night. One of the women touched the surface, and a doorway opened. A soft white light came from inside. Daniel stopped. "Are you sure this is okay?" The first woman looked at him, still smiling. "We promise you will be home soon. We just want to show you something beautiful." He nodded slowly and stepped inside. The doorway closed behind him. There was no sound. Inside, the air felt different. Warm, but not heavy. The walls were smooth, like glass but soft to touch. Light came from everywhere but no bulbs, no wires. He turned to ask a question, but the women were gone. "Hello," he said. No answer. He walked forward, through a hallway that curved gently. Strange symbols moved across the walls, glowing softly. He touched one, and it changed color. Suddenly, a voice spoke, not from outside but inside his mind. "Welcome, Daniel. Your presence has been accepted. Please remain calm. Where are they?" he asked out loud. The voice answered, still inside his head. "They are preparing. You will meet them again shortly." He kept walking. The hallway opened into a round room with a clear floor. Below, he saw stars moving, as if the ship was already in space. He panicked. "Wait, we're flying. Where are you taking me?" The voice answered again. "Destination is beyond your understanding. You are safe. Observation has begun." He turned to run back, but the door had vanished. The wall was solid. Then the women returned. But now they were different. Their eyes were brighter, their skin shining like metal. They no longer smiled. The first woman stepped forward. "You are now part of something bigger. Do not be afraid. All answers will come in time." Daniel took a step back. "This isn't what you said. You lied to me." The second woman spoke, and this time her voice echoed like many voices speaking at once. we did not lie. You came by your own choice. Curiosity opened the door. Now it cannot be closed. Daniel felt the floor shift under his feet. He looked down. The stars were moving faster. He realized something. This was not a visit. This was not an invitation. This was a trap. Daniel opened his eyes, but it didn't feel like waking up. There was no bed, no ceiling, no sense of time. He was floating, not in space, not in water, just suspended in nothingness. The air was warm, and the light around him pulsed like it was breathing. He tried to speak, but no words came. His throat moved, but no sound followed. Then suddenly, a floor appeared beneath him. He dropped down gently, as if gravity remembered him again. The room was dark and round, its walls smooth and glowing with soft green patterns. They moved like liquid, never still. There were no windows, no doors. Only silence. Daniel looked at his hands. They were shaking. Not from fear, but from something else. Like his body wasn't completely his anymore. A soft hum began. Not from outside, but inside his skull. Then a voice whispered, cold and smooth, you are now in phase 1. Memory scan complete. Emotional data acceptable. Daniel turned in circles. Who's talking? What is this place? The voice did not answer directly. Instead, a panel in the wall lit up, and a figure appeared. It was him, but older. Worn down, the same face, but eyes filled with pain. Daniel stepped back. What is that? Who is that? The voice returned. That is you, from a previous attempt. His mind struggled to understand. Attempt? What do you mean attempt? Before the voice could reply, the wall opened silently. A woman stepped in, one of the two from earlier, but she looked different now. Taller, her face had no emotion. Her eyes, once soft, now burned like blue fire. You are safe, she said, her voice empty. This is a learning process. For you, and for us. Daniel didn't believe her. What do you want from me? She didn't answer. Instead, she raised her hand, and a part of the floor became transparent beneath it. Daniel saw rows of people, floating in glass tubes, asleep, not moving, men, women, even children. All human. His breath caught in his chest. Who are they? Others, she said. Like you, curious, chosen. Why are they asleep? Why aren't they waking up? The woman tilted her head slightly, as if confused by the question. Not everyone wakes up, she replied. Then she pointed to one of the tubes inside. Daniel saw someone who looked like him. Same face, same scar near the eye. But the expression, lifeless. His legs weakened. He backed away from the glass. No, that's not possible. That's not me. The woman stepped closer. This version is more stable. You are asking questions. That is good. Fear makes your mind sharper. It helps the data become cleaner. He didn't like how she said, data. Daniel turned and ran toward the wall, but it didn't open. He hit it, hard. The surface didn't move, didn't shake. The woman stayed calm. There is no exit, not yet. You are not finished, he screamed at her. You tricked me, you said I'd be home. She looked at him without blinking. You are, for us. This is your true home. The world you remember was only a copy. A test. Environment. You were never real, until now. Daniel's heart raced. His thoughts spun. None of this made sense, but every part of it felt true. Then, a sound from behind. He turned fast. Another door had opened, and in its frame stood a child, a small boy, pale and thin, maybe 10 years old. His eyes were wide but dull, like he hadn't slept in years. The child whispered, "You can't trust them." Daniel stepped forward. "Who are you?" "I don't remember," the boy said, "but I've been here a long time. They erased my name, my family, everything. I only remember the pain." Daniel looked back at the woman. She wasn't moving, just watching. The boy pulled Daniel's hand. "Come with me. I know a place where the walls don't listen." They ran through a tunnel that opened without sound as they moved. The walls around them changed, flashing with symbols and faces. Some human, some alien, some not recognizable at all. Daniel whispered, "What is this ship? What are they doing to us?" The boy answered with fear in his voice, "They study emotions. They don't feel anything, so they take it from us. Fear, pain, love. They steal it, record it, and then make it happen again." Daniel felt cold all over. "How do we stop it?" The boy looked at him, eyes empty but full of silent warning. "You don't. You only survive." Suddenly alarms began to echo through the hallway. Lights turned red. The woman's voice returned, louder, sharper. Unauthorized movement detected. Subject 42 has broken route. Containment required. Daniel grabbed the boy's hand tighter. "Keep running," he said. Behind them, the walls began to shift again, but this time, the ship wasn't just watching, it was waking up. Daniel was running, but the hallway was changing with every step. The walls weren't just walls anymore. They were moving, stretching, shifting like they were alive. The boy beside him suddenly stopped. His eyes widened. "It's too late," he whispered from above. Long, thin lines dropped down, not wires but something organic. They wrapped around the boy's arms and legs. He screamed, but not from pain. From memory. Daniel tried to pull him free, but the ship reacted fast. A force lifted Daniel off the ground and threw him backwards. He hit a soft wall that absorbed the shock like a sponge. Then everything went dark. He blinked once and woke up again, but this time he wasn't in a hallway. He was in a white room, perfectly round, perfectly clean. The walls glowed softly. There were no shadows, no doors, no seams, and across the room stood the two alien women. Their appearance had changed again. Their faces were smooth, but now their eyes were solid black. No light, no soul. One of them spoke. "Subject 42 is awake. Begin sequence 3. Daniel felt pressure on his chest. Not pain, weight. He looked down and saw his own body beginning to change. Tiny silver lines were appearing under his skin, like veins of metal. "What is this? What are you doing to me?" Neither woman answered. Instead, a third figure entered the room. Not a woman, not even fully shaped. It looked like a shadow given form, a shape made of mist and static. It moved without sound and stood inches from Daniel's face. And then it spoke, using Daniel's own voice. "I'm not real," it said. "You made me." Daniel backed away. "No, that's not me. That's not true." The shape nodded slowly. "It's already begun. They are rewriting you, piece by piece." Suddenly, the walls changed. They melted away, and Daniel was no longer in the room. He was standing in his childhood bedroom. The posters on the wall, the old lamp, the books, everything was exactly right, but outside the window, there were no trees, no sky, only a black void full of floating machines, each one watching. He turned around and saw his mother standing there. She smiled, but her eyes were completely white. "You were always curious, Daniel," she said in a soft voice. "That's why they chose you." He shook his head. "This isn't real. You're not real." The voice behind him returned, the shadow figure. "Real is what they let you believe. This is not memory. This is simulation. They are testing how much of you they can rewrite before you break." Daniel shouted. "Why me? Why are they doing this to me?" The woman's voice returned, now flat and mechanical. "Because fear creates data. Identity creates resistance. Resistance creates evolution. You are the first subject to fight back." Suddenly, the walls fell away again, and Daniel was strapped to a chair. His arms were locked, and cold tubes were connected to his temples across. From him, another Daniel, same face, same eyes, but calm, emotionless. "You won't win," the other Daniel said. "You're the version that still feels. They want to see if pain makes you stronger, or if they should erase it forever." A screen dropped from above, showing flashes of Earth, cities burning, people screaming, children hiding. Then, silence. The planet vanished. "No," Daniel whispered. This can't be real. The other Daniel leaned forward. It isn't yet. But they want to know what your fear looks like. They feed on it. And when they're done, they move to the next world. Daniel struggled in the chair. Heart pounding, the tubes began to glow. Pain shot through his head. Not like a normal headache. This felt like someone was digging through his thoughts. Memories began to flash. His first kiss, his favorite song, the night his dog died, the taste of his father's cooking. One by one, the images were pulled away. He screamed. Not from pain, but from losing pieces of himself. And just when he thought he would forget everything, a hand touched his shoulder. Warm. Human. It was the boy, but this time he looked different. Older. Stronger. Eyes sharp. Voice calm. "You're not alone," the boy said. "This is just part of the experiment." But they made one mistake. Daniel looked at him, barely able to speak. "What mistake?" The boy leaned closer. "They taught us how their system works. And now we can break it." Suddenly the tubes snapped. The room shook. Sirens began to blare. The floor cracked. A deep voice echoed through the ship. "Containment breach. Memory construct collapsing. Emergency protocol initiated." Daniel stood up, energy rushing back into his body. He looked at the boy, who was now typing commands into a glowing panel on the wall. "We don't have long," the boy said. "But if we make it through this door, we might find the real control room." Daniel took one final look at the other version of himself, now frozen. Silent. Then he ran, because for the first time since he stepped on the ship, he wasn't just a subject, he was a threat. Asterisk. Daniel followed the boy down a glowing hallway that changed shape as they ran. Walls stretched, ceilings bent, and the floor kept shifting, like it was breathing beneath their feet. The boy didn't stop. His eyes scanned every wall, every symbol. He was faster now, more confident, like the ship itself had given him a map. Inside his mind, finally, they reached a narrow opening. The boy touched a panel, and the wall slid open. With a soft sound, they stepped inside a small dark chamber. The door sealed behind them, and for the first time, silence. No voices in their heads, no moving walls, no light except a single blue line pulsing under the floor. Daniel looked around. "Where are we?" the boy whispered. "Inside a blind spot. The ship can't see us here." "Not completely." "How do you know?" Daniel asked. The boy's voice was quiet. "Because this room wasn't built by them. It was built by someone like us. A long time ago." Daniel stepped closer. "Someone like us, you mean a human?" The boy nodded. "Or close to it, maybe from another world, but they came before. They tried to escape too." Daniel looked at the walls. Symbols carved deep, almost scratched in. Some looked like numbers, others like warnings. He stepped closer to a large panel. It lit up as he neared. A hologram appeared, a spinning model of the ship, layered with moving shapes, like nerves or blood vessels. "This isn't just a ship," the boy said. "It's a living organism. Artificial, but alive. The women, they're not pilots. They're part of it." Daniel watched the model. The ship pulsed like a heart. Tunnels connected like veins. Lights moved like thoughts. He whispered, "It's thinking, watching, planning." The boy nodded. "Exactly. And it doesn't just trap people. It studies them, learns from their fear, their memories, their instincts. Then it grows stronger." Daniel clenched his fists. "Then we shut it down. We destroy it." The boy looked at him carefully. "It's not that easy. If we destroy it the wrong way, it takes us all with it. But if we find its brain, the core, we can disconnect it from the rest of the body. Then maybe ... just maybe, we wake everyone up." Daniel nodded. "So where's the core?" The boy touched the spinning model. A red pulse blinked deep at the center. "There," he said. "But it's protected by mental barriers. It doesn't use doors or guards. It uses thoughts, illusions, memories. If we go there, the ship will try to break us from the inside." Daniel looked at the spinning ship and felt the weight of what was coming. "So what's the plan?" The boy stepped back. We go through the old tunnels, places the ship doesn't use anymore. They're unstable, but quiet. We reach the core, bypass the illusions, and inject this. He pulled out a small device from his sleeve, a clear glass tube filled with black smoke. Daniel stared at it. What is that? The boy looked at it like it was a weapon, a virus. But not made by humans. Someone before us made it to poison the ship's thoughts. It causes confusion, chaos, silence. And if it doesn't work, Daniel asked, then we disappear, like the others. Before Daniel could answer, the walls began to tremble. The blue light turned red. She's found us, the boy said. We need to move. Now the door cracked open, and they ran back into the shifting hallway, but this time, it wasn't empty. The walls were covered in faces, human faces, crying, screaming, whispering things Daniel couldn't understand. They were not real, just projections, but they moved as if alive. Then the voices returned, but they didn't speak in English. They spoke in Daniel's memories, his father's voice, his childhood dog barking, his own voice saying, "Help me." He covered his ears, but the sounds came from inside. The boy shouted over the noise, "It's starting. The illusions are active. Don't listen, don't stop. No matter what you see." They ran again, turning corners, crawling through broken vents. The deeper they went, the more real the illusions became. At one point, Daniel saw his apartment. Warm lights, soft music, his mother cooking in the kitchen. He almost stepped inside, but the boy grabbed his arm. Not real. It wants you to stay there forever. Daniel stared at the scene. It felt so real, so safe, but then his mother looked at him, and her eyes were blacky, turned away and kept moving. They reached a metal hatch covered in rust. The boy entered a code, and it hissed open. Cold air rushed out. A new hallway appeared, dark, silent, no illusions. No voices. Daniel looked at the boy. Is this it? The boy nodded. Yes, beyond this, the core. But once we go in, there's no turning back. The ship will fight us with everything it has. Daniel stepped forward. I'm not afraid anymore. The boy smiled for the first time. Then you're ready. They walked into the darkness, and behind them, the ship screamed. The hallway swallowed them like a mouth. No lights, no walls. Just cold, thick air that clung to their skin like wet smoke. Daniel followed the boy step by step, his eyes adjusting to the strange glow rising from beneath their feet. It wasn't light. It was thought. The floor pulsed with colorless patterns, not drawn but felt, like walking on someone's memory. This is it, the boy said. We're inside her mind now. Nothing here will make sense, but everything will feel real. Daniel nodded, keeping close. His body was tense, every nerve alert. Each step felt like it could lead into a trap, or into his own past. As they moved forward, the air changed again. First came the voices, not loud, not clear, but constant. Whispers from thousands of lives, all trapped, all speaking at once. Laughter, cries, arguments, lullabies. Like the ship was echoing every soul it had ever touched. Then came the rooms. They weren't walking through corridors anymore. They were walking through scenes. A birthday party, Daniel's 6th, a hospital hallway, a burning classroom, a coffin being lowered into the ground. Daniel stopped. His legs froze. He was staring at his own funeral. Dozens of faces stood in black clothes. His mother, crying, his brother silent. A photo of Daniel beside the coffin, smiling, but wrong. The eyes were empty. The boy grabbed his arm. Keep walking. If you stay, she'll lock you inside this memory forever. Daniel forced himself to move. The scene vanished instantly, replaced by another and another, until nothing made sense. Up was down, inside was outside, time twisted like smoke, and then silence. They stepped into the core. It wasn't a room. It was a void at the center. Floating above a pit of turning light was something massive, a heart made of glass and wire, beating slow and steady. Around it, long cables moved like roots, stretching in every direction. Daniel whispered, "This is the brain. The boy nodded. No, this is her heart. Her real thoughts are deeper. He pulled out the virus, the small glass tube with black smoke still swirling inside. If we inject this, he said, it'll scramble her control, maybe just for a minute. But that's enough to open a path. Where? Daniel asked. To the storage sector. The place where she keeps the others, the real people. If we free them, we overload her system. Before Daniel could respond, the heart pulsed and it saw them. The cables moved fast. One wrapped around the boy's leg, lifting him into the air. He screamed, kicking, but the ship didn't want to kill him. It wanted to absorb him. Daniel ran forward. The cable shot toward him too, but he ducked, jumped, grabbed onto the edge of the platform where the heart floated. He pulled himself up and slammed his hand down. Holding the virus one chance, he drove the glass tube into the base of the heart. The moment it cracked, the black smoke hissed out, and the ship screamed, not with sound, but with light. The whole world shattered. The walls became sand. The sky folded inward. And Daniel was no longer standing. He was falling through thought. He hit the ground hard, real ground. Metal, cold and silent. He was in a massive room filled with pods. Thousands of them, each one held a sleeping person. Floating in blue light, unmoving, unaware. He looked around. The boy was beside him, breathing hard, free from the cable. You did it, the boy whispered. She's distracted. We have a few minutes. Daniel moved to the nearest pod. Inside was a woman, middle-aged, face peaceful, eyes closed. He touched the side. A light turned green. Her eyes fluttered open. She gasped, sitting up. I was dreaming. A long dream. I thought I was home. You were trapped, Daniel said. We're getting you out. More pods opened. People woke up, confused, scared, whispering, crying behind them. The walls cracked again. She's repairing herself, the boy said. We need to go now. Daniel looked around. The escape door was on the far end, marked with an ancient symbol, one he remembered from the blind spot room. He shouted to the crowd, "Follow me. If you want to live, move now." They ran. The hallway trembled. The lights flickered. The voice returned. Containment breach confirmed. Memory sector compromised. Core destabilizing. Executing fail-safe. The ship was going to shut everything down. Daniel turned to the boy. How do we stop it? The boy's face was pale. We ride it. The virus didn't just confuse her, it woke something up. The ship is starting to question itself. Daniel looked back at the pods, the people, the chaos, then at the door. Their only chance. They ran through it, and just before it closed, Daniel looked back. He saw the ship collapsing from the inside, not with fire, not with explosions, but like a mind losing its own thoughts. And deep inside the core, something else was waking up, something the ship had buried long ago. Daniel stood in the silence after the escape door closed. No alarms, no voices, no sound all just breath, his own. The boy stood beside him, staring at the smooth gray walls. They were in a new part of the ship, but something about it felt old, forgotten. The floor was cracked, the air colder, and for the first time since they'd met, the boy looked unsure. She won't follow us here, he said softly. Why not? Daniel asked. The boy didn't answer right away. He ran his fingers across a broken console, brushing off layers of dust. Because this place doesn't exist anymore, not in her memory. Daniel stepped closer. What is this place? The boy turned toward him, eyes distant. I think this is where it all began. Suddenly, a screen on the wall lit up by itself. No one touched it. A video began to play. At first, Daniel saw stars, a peaceful sky, then a giant ship, the ship, drifting near a strange planet. Its surface was covered in lights, towers, movement. Not Earth, something else. Something older. A voice spoke over the video, not in English, not even in words. But Daniel could understand it anyway. The ship was speaking. Cycle 342 complete. Subject non-compliant. Reset required, then another scene. A man running down a hallway. Same fear, same chaos. He looked up at a camera. It was Daniel but older, different clothes. A scar that wasn't there before. Daniel's heart stopped. That's me, he whispered. That's me. The boy didn't react. He just nodded. You've done this before, he said quietly. Many times. The ship runs simulations, loops, testing human response to fear, memory, identity. It resets you every time you get too close to the truth. Daniel couldn't speak. The screen changed again. This time it showed blueprints, brain scans, notes and alien symbols. Then a headline, written in shaky human handwriting. They are not studying US. They are building US. What does that mean? Daniel asked. His voice shaking. The boy's answer came slow and steady. You're not just a test subject. You're a template. They've been using your mind, your emotions to build something new. A hybrid. Something part human, part them. A version that can survive both worlds. Daniel felt the room spin. No, that's not possible. I'm real. I know who I am. I remember my life. The boy looked at him with sad eyes. Do you? What was your mother's name? Daniel opened his mouth. Nothing came out. What street did you grow up on? What year were you born? Daniel tried to answer, but the memories blurred. They felt real, but the details were missing. Like a dream melting in sunlight, he sank to the floor, hands in his hair. I'm not real, he whispered. I'm a copy. The boy knelt beside him. You're more than a copy. You're the only one that ever made it this far. That means something. Then the wall behind them began to hum. A soft light appeared, not sharp, not cold. It was warm, like sunlight through clouds, and from that light, a figure stepped out. It was one of the alien women, but not like before. Her eyes were soft again. Her face was human-like. She wasn't glowing. She wasn't floating. She looked tired, and she spoke gently. You were never supposed to wake up this much, Daniel. But now that you have, I can tell you the truth. Daniel stood slowly. His voice was rough. Why me? Why all of this? The woman stepped closer. Because you are the bridge, the missing link. We needed to understand pain, loss, love, but we could not feel. So we used you over and over until your mind created something we could not design. What did I create? He asked. She looked down as if ashamed. A soul, she whispered. Daniel felt his chest tighten. I'm not supposed to exist, am I? She shook her head. Not like this, not aware. The others. They gave up. But you didn't. That's why the cycle broke. That's why the ship is failing. Daniel looked at the boy. He was standing in the light now too, and suddenly, Daniel saw it. The boy wasn't just another prisoner. He was a younger version of himself, one the ship had separated long ago to keep him incomplete. Everything inside Daniel shifted. I want out, he said. I want to leave this ship. For real. The woman gave a slow nod. Then take the final step. Go to the core again. This time, not to destroy it, but to become it. Daniel stepped back. What does that mean? The woman smiled sadly. The only way out is to take control. And behind her, a new doorway opened. Not metal, not alien. It looked like a door from his childhood home, wooden, familiar, waiting. Daniel stood in front of the wooden door. It didn't belong here. The edges didn't fit the metal wall. The color didn't match, but something about it felt real, more real than anything since this began. He reached for the handle. The alien woman spoke from behind him. This is the last layer. Once you pass through, you cannot come back. If you fail, the ship resets you, and everything you are will be lost again. Daniel didn't look back. His voice was steady. Then I won't fail. He turned the knob. The door opened with a soft creak. On the other side was not space, not machinery, but a field, golden grass, warm sunlight, birds flying above. A quiet wind moved through the air like a breath. It was calm. It was human. Daniel stepped through. His feet touched soil, his lungs filled with real air. For a moment, he believed it might be heaven. But then, the sky changed. The sun flickered. The ground began to blur, and in front of him, something rose from the grass, a mirror, tall, wide, still. It showed him, but not just how he looked now. It showed every version of him the ship had created. The weak one, the angry one, the one who broke, the one who obeyed. All of them stared back. The mirror spoke, not in a voice, but in his thoughts. "Are not a person. You are a pattern. You are code. You are a result." Daniel stepped closer. "No, I'm not your result. I'm the mistake you couldn't control." The reflection changed. It became the alien woman, then the boy, then a version of Daniel with black eyes. "You still think you can fight me?" the voice said. Daniel closed his eyes. He remembered everything. Now the first loop, the first question, the first fear, and the moment, in every cycle, where he gave up. But not this time. This time, he understood. "I'm not here to fight," Daniel said quietly. "I'm here to choose." The mirror cracked. Light poured out from within it, but not blinding, not violent. It was warm, like fire in winter. Then, the ground beneath him opened and Daniel fell, not down, not up, just through memory, through light, through himself. He woke up inside the core, but it looked different now. No spinning heart, no glowing wires, just a wide, empty room with a single console floating in the center. On it, a question blinking softly. "Override system?" "Yes, no." Daniel walked toward it. His hand hovered above the YEZ, hesitated only once. "What happens if I do this?" he whispered. A voice answered, and this time, it was his own. "Then you stop running, and you become what they feared most." He pressed YEZ. The lights exploded in silence all across the ship. Alarms died, doors unlocked. The alien women collapsed to their knees, their eyes dimmed in memory chambers. The humans began to wake up, thousands of minds opening at once, thousands of identities returning. Earth returned to their thoughts, names, faces. Freedom. Daniel opened his eyes again, but this time, he wasn't in a body. He was the ship. He felt its walls. He saw through every camera. He heard every heartbeat on board, but he was still himself. No longer a test, no longer a subject. He was the pilot now. The alien woman stood in one of the hallways, looking up at a screen that showed Daniel's face. "You took control," she whispered. "You became the bridge." Daniel's voice came through the walls. "No, I became human, fully human. You just never expected that to be more powerful than your machines." She looked away. Silent. Daniel turned his attention to the Earth in the distance. He could feel its gravity. He could feel its call. Ship had never planned to return, but he was going to take it back one by one. The human survivors were led to safe quarters, their bodies healed, their minds clearing, and in the command center, Daniel guided the living ship toward home. Weeks later, Earth's orbit people looked up at the sky and saw something massive above the clouds, a diamond-shaped ship floating silently, releasing thousands of rescue pods toward the surface. No attack, no message, just returning one of the pods. A child looked out the window and whispered to his mother, "Who saved us?" She smiled, tears in her eyes. Someone who was never supposed to exist, but did anyway. Final log of the ship recorded by Daniel. They tried to erase what they didn't understand. But you can't delete a soul. Not once it wakes up.